What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test after this long holiday weekend, I hope you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Monday edition of the Pandemic Update for Monday, July 8th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where we do the daily pandemic update on all things COVID and any other virus that could be a health threat to you. Let's face it, there are a lot of different viruses out there, and you need to be informed on what's going on with each and every one of these viruses, and that's what I do here. I try and inform you on what's going on with the current virus levels and anything that I can find here on the internet and out in the wild as well, because let's face it, the media doesn't talk about them that much, and really do need to be informed. So if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Subscribe down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. The more people that hit that thumbs up button, the more YouTube will push this content throughout the algorithm. Let's try for 200 like button hits today. Share these videos with anyone you know. Leave a comment down below. And remember to hit that notification bell. That also helps the channel grow as well. And that's what we all want to happen, right? We want to keep more people informed with what's going on. All right, we have a very busy day today, including news, weekly data, Walgreens data, all kinds of different stuff to talk about today. But first, we must talk about this. Second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, has tested positive for COVID on Sunday, July 7th, 2024, this year. This is his second case of COVID. I went back and looked and found out his first case was on Tuesday, March 15th. 2022. Currently, he is 59 years old, and I do want to give out a thanks to Stats Master E for starting the thread of this on my website. If you've never been on my website before, I archive positive cases of COVID. We have several different threads that talk about other things. I'm not the only one that posts. There's other people that come and post as well. And hey, you can sign up for free and post as well. We got COVID studies galore on there. There is one that's coming today that I haven't added yet. I do believe that is up here in today's update, so we'll get to that in a little bit. Now let's go over to the weekly update out of New Zealand. New Zealand COVID weekly update, July 1st to July 7th. New cases, 2,772. That's down by 24.2%. That's a good thing. Thumbs up for that. Reinfections, 1,686. That makes up 60.82% of cases. Deaths, 31. And the total number of pandemic deaths is 4,216 in New Zealand. Hospital number is at 173. That's down by 16.8%. And the ICU number is not available. All right, coming back to the United States now. Second case of measles has now been confirmed in Vermont, and it says that the Vermont Department of Health has confirmed another case of measles in Vermont. State health officials say the infected individual was exposed to a person with measles in the area of Hanover, New Hampshire, in late June. If you want to read all about this and the potential exposures, you can do so you can just go to my X page at COVID Data Report, and I did tweet this out, and I will make sure that I start a thread and include the data source, which would be this article, over on my website. Alrighty, taking a look at this. Cambodia reports another human case of H5N1 bird flu. The second case in 2 days. That's not good. The new case, a 5-year-old girl, is the cousin of the first case. They both touched the same chicken. So the case is coming from a chicken. It sounds like they're related to each other. It's a cousin. So they all had contact with each other. All right, moving on to that study I talked about. Sleep disturbances linked to worse COVID-19 outcomes. Pre-existing sleep disturbances were tied to an increased risk of COVID-19 infection of 12%. It's not the first time we've talked about either something related to happening after a COVID infection or before the COVID infection having a tie. When it comes to sleep, having a tie to COVID. We've heard of COVID making sleep disorders worse, and now we're hearing of pre-existing sleep disturbances being tied to an increased risk of COVID-19 infection. So that is not a good thing. Of course, if you want to read the full study, it's here on X, and of course, I am going to make sure I add this to the archives. I'm thinking we may need to add a COVID and sleep section to the archives of studies pretty soon because there's quite a few things that are starting to pop up about that. All right, moving on now to this from BNO News. This is something different, but I think this does need some attention because something is going on at Boeing, and I don't know what it is, but Boeing has some major issues, and we do need to report on them sometimes, and I think today we do. Just in, FAA orders inspection of 2,600 Boeing 737 planes due to risk of oxygen mask failure during emergency. And this is immediately. They need to halt these planes and they need to inspect them. What is going on with all these Boeing planes having so many problems? If you have any suspicions, let me know down below. I mean, it just seems like every week we learn something new about Boeing, and this time it is oxygen mask failure. Not a good thing whatsoever. All right, BNO weekly U.S. COVID update. New cases 90,738 is the estimate. The average is 81,470. That's up by 8,626. Those new cases, it's inching closer to 100,000, and we know the real number is actually much higher. People don't take a COVID test, but if I had to guess, that estimate number of cases before this wave ends probably will go back over 100,000. In the hospital, 2,551. That is up by 370. In the ICU, 230. New deaths, 407. The average is down by 25, bringing the average to 438. All right, coming down to the next part, COVID cases in the U.S. have been rising for 5 weeks in a row. This week, cases went up in at least 39 states and possibly more. That said, COVID levels remain relatively low compared to winter months. The most notable increases this week were reported in Kentucky, with a 72% increase, Georgia 39% increase, Tennessee 33% increase, Minnesota 26% increase, Massachusetts 23% increase, and Indiana 21% increase. Those are pretty significant increases. We'll have to take a look at some of those states on Walgreens today and tomorrow. Only 34% of hospitals in the U.S. submitted COVID data this week, which is similar to last week, but down from 91% in May. This means actual case numbers and hospitalizations are higher than reported. This is the 225th week in a row with more than 400 new COVID deaths in the U.S., or nearly 1.2 million deaths during the same period. And before someone starts typing and saying, oh, well, it's only 400 deaths. Okay, prior to 2020, those COVID deaths, they didn't exist. Those people who have died, they may have been alive still. Yes, some of them have had pre-existing conditions, but guess what? If they never caught COVID, they would still be here with us today. A large number of them, anyhow. So far this year, more than 3.7 million COVID cases have been reported in the U.S., causing 300,520 hospitalizations. That's a big number. And 32,048 deaths. At 300,520 hospitalizations, we must ask ourselves, is the pandemic really over? I should say not. That's why we still have the thumbnail that we use on our video almost every day. The pandemic is not over. Because that, to me, is still pandemic levels. And remember, that is just in the United States alone. That is such a high number. All right, moving on now. Let's take a look at today's Pwn Levels. Drumroll, please, as we refresh this. 53% of the country is in low to medium status. And taking a look at the air quality levels, I'm telling you right now, there are some places where the air quality levels are just not good at all. And you can see, as the map slowly starts to load, you go from Alabama to Georgia, on up the Appalachian Mountains. While you are seeing yellow, that's not the worst thing in the world. You get further north, you do see some oranges mixed in, even a couple red sites. Not good, and I can tell you for a fact, Philadelphia last night, the air quality was very bad. There's a wildfire that has been ongoing in Warthon State Forest in New Jersey, while I believe as of last night, it was mostly contained. We had a sea breeze yesterday evening. That blew the winds from the east to the northwest, and guess what? When we have the wind coming out of the east, if there's a wildfire like that, guess what? we will smell the smoke. And the smoke was clearly visible here last night. Much of the Northeast, say south of the I-90 corridor, is in the yellow. There is some yellowish green north of that as well. We're starting to see some orange up in Michigan. And up in the northern Dakotas, North Dakota and South Dakota, you're starting to see some spillover from possible wildfire activity up in Canada. That's affecting your air quality, and we do have air quality concerns out in the west. Take a look at this in Northern California. This is not good. Northern California and Oregon, Medford. Yeah, I'm assuming you have a wildfire ongoing there. I'll look it up. If I find anything, I will tweet it on X. And you can see the rest of the country, it's pretty much a mixed bag of things. Heat-related illnesses. Drum roll, please. We have to refresh this. Hopefully we get the new weekly update, and I'm expecting it to not be good. Well, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, but there's still quite a few heat-related illnesses. Just about every state in the country has a county that is dealing with higher than normal heat-related illnesses. And we can see here, if we look up in the Northeast, it's continuing to be a problem. We take a look at the Mid-Atlantic region, it's a problem. The Plains, the West Coast, quite a few places are dealing with heat-related illnesses. And speaking of heat-related illnesses, you can learn more about climate and weather over on my other X account, at Climate Data Report. And you can also check me out on my other YouTube channel, at Climate Data Report. Probably won't have a video coming there today. I think the next video is going to be tomorrow. The main focus there lately has been Burl. Didn't have time to get a video in today. I'm going to hope to get one in tomorrow morning. Alright, getting back to health. And we can see here, EMS calls in Philadelphia on Sunday, 832. Live looking at the burbs. It's probably not going to be pretty what's going on in southeast Pennsylvania. It's been a very busy day for ambulances. A little bit better now. Montgomery County is back down to 11 calls. It was at or over 20 earlier, and it was just a wide range of different things. And still is. We see falls, we see respiratory emergencies. Cheltenham Township, ooh, that's not far away from me. Cardiac arrest, not a good thing. And Chester County has also been very busy. Currently, we see hypotension, assault, falls, respiratory difficulty, seizures, heart problems, unresponsive person, heart problems again, exposure to heat-cold. Could be a heat-related illness there. More so, probably is heat at this time of year versus cold. And now, drumroll please. The weekly Walgreens update, which does show positivity rates for COVID rising once again. Current week, 39.6% positivity rate. The prior week was 36.5%. Difference of up 3%. Total tests, 5,109 versus 5,150. And yeah, we're coming near record high levels for Walgreens. And a big reason for that is so many people are just not getting tested. And you can see the highest level ever was back last summer, actually, in August. Looks like 44%. I don't know if we're going to pass that, but if we continue at this rate for multiple more weeks, we probably would. I definitely think we're going to pass 40% here in the coming weeks. All right, let's take a look at some of these states. New Hampshire sticks out, and whoa, okay, not many people are getting tested there, but 63.6% positivity rate. Come on, if you're sick, go out and get a COVID test, please. Prior week, 50%. Difference of up 13.6%. You can see they bounce around a lot here. 11 tests versus 8. Don't read too much into New Hampshire. However, Connecticut, 33.3%. The prior week was 14.3%. Difference of up 19%. 21 tests versus 21. That is a legitimate rise. New York State, 48.6% positivity rate versus 43.4%. Difference of up 5.2%. And we can see here 138 tests versus 136. That is a legitimate rise. In Kentucky, remember Kentucky had that big rise reported by BNO News? Well, believe it or not, at Walgreens, their positivity rate has fallen. 40.9% versus 42.6%. Difference of down 1.7%. 44 tests versus 54. Again, don't always use Walgreens to think, oh, well, Walgreens is dropping, my state's fine. It's a very small sampling size, but we still do like to go over the states here on my channel. I just like doing it. I think it maybe gives some sort of a sense what's going on a national level and maybe in some of the regional levels. West Virginia, 50% positivity rate this week versus 30% last week, up by 20%. You hardly do any testing, 6 versus 10. let's go somewhere where they do a lot more testing, and that is Texas. And Texas continues to just skyrocket at this time. 41.5% positivity rate this week. Prior week was 38.7%. Difference of up 2.7%. And hey, they still did 1,100 tests versus 1,048. And just take a look at the chart. We're going to zoom this in. You can see the chart has been continuously going up since May. Then it dropped a little bit, and now it's just going right back up once again. How about Florida? Florida still does over 900 tests. 45.1% positivity rate. The prior week was 38.8%. Difference of up 6.3% total test. 904 versus 979. Testing's down, but I think this is a rise in cases. Florida has been rising. Your positivity rate at this rate wouldn't surprise me if it hits 50%. New Mexico, 50% positivity rate this week. Testing, though, is down. And the prior week was 43.3%. Difference of up 6.7%. Total test, 26 versus 30. So, yes, you're doing less testing, but you probably are seeing a rise as well. Let's do two more. Washington State, 47.6% this week versus 32%. That's a difference of up 15.6%. Total test, 82 versus 122. And let's go somewhere that's green now, shall we? Ohio, 30.9% positivity rate versus 39.7%. That's down by 8.9%. Total test, 94 versus 68. So you did increase the number of tests, but if we look ever so closely here on the chart, it looks like they were on the start at the beginning of this. Looks like they were on the start of maybe potentially going up again. So we'll have to see what happens next week. We'll look at some more states again tomorrow. Moving on now, we want to take a look at what is going on in New Jersey today. And if you're in New Jersey, the hospitalizations for today, 70 out of 70 hospitals reported with 202 hospitalizations as this refreshes on me. There we go. 7 people in a ventilator. Discharges today. They did discharge 23 people, and in the ICU, they had 19 people in the ICU for today. Taking a look at New York State, 1,575 people tested positive for COVID on the most recent update, which this is data going back to last week. This is not people that tested positive today. This is data going back to July 5th. Now taking a look at New York State hospitalizations, which is also very delayed, and we can see here that they ended the week on a rising note. 859 people in the hospital, 82 people in the ICU. And let's just go over to the CDC data real quickly. There is one thing that I did want to show you, and that is the latest variants. For those who are new to the channel, KP.3 is 24.5%, KP.2 is 21.5%, and LB.1 is 10%. I did read an article today stating that the KP.3 variant may now, and they quoted from the CDC in the article, saying that the CDC expects KP.3 to continue to rise. I don't know. At one point, they were thinking LB.1 could be the next one to take over. We'll have to see what happens. LB.1 did drop some, and KP.3 is at 24.5%, but overall, the whole gist of it, take a look here. There's a lot of different COVID variants. We're in such a soup now that it is really becoming diverse, which is why some of these variants actually drop. There's just so many of them at this point. Alrighty, folks, that does it for the Monday edition of the Pandemic Update. We'll have another Pandemic Update again tomorrow. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. Share these videos with anyone you know. Remember to hit that notification bell. Of course, leave your comments down below, and I will see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Monday evening. Thanks for watching.